Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the wildest, most pressing economic paradoxes we're facing right now, AI job displacement. It's everywhere in the news, but we're going to look at it through a very specific structural lens. We're talking about a scenario where AI displaces human workers way faster than the economy can reabsorb them. And here is the paradox. Those displaced workers, they're also consumers. So when their paychecks vanish, so does the consumer demand that these exact same companies literally rely on to survive. So that brings us to the ultimate question we're unpacking today. Think about it. If the cliff ahead is completely visible to everyone, why on earth are rational companies, with perfect foresight, mind you, racing toward a future of zero consumer demand? Why automate yourself out of your own customer base? It sounds completely counterintuitive, right? But, as we'll see, the underlying math of competitive markets makes this self-destructive race almost inevitable. Unless, of course, we introduce a very specific correction. All right, here's our roadmap. We're going to cover the AI layoff trap, the demand destruction externality, why common solutions fail, the Pigouvian tax solution, how to calculate that tax, and finally, funding the retraining loop. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the AI layoff trap. This isn't some distant sci-fi scenario. Look at the real-world evidence right in front of us. The source points to a very real projection, envisioning early 2026, where a massive company like Block cuts nearly half of its 10,000-person workforce. CEO Jack Dorsey noted that AI just made many of those roles unnecessary. But the really chilling part is the second half of his statement. Within the next year, the majority of companies will reach the same conclusion. This perfectly illustrates that the over-automation threat is an active, recognized trend across mass-market firms. It's definitely not a secret. These companies know exactly what they're doing. Moving on to Section 2, the demand destruction externality. To really understand the core economic engine driving this trap, we need to look at what's called a demand externality. Basically, this is a scenario where an automating firm captures 100% of the labor cost savings from replacing a human with AI, but, and here's the catch, it bears only a tiny fraction of the aggregate demand loss it creates in the wider market. Think of it like a leaky bucket. When a company lays off a worker, that worker obviously stops spending money across the whole economy. Their purchasing power just leaks out everywhere. So the automating firm gets all of the savings, but shares the pain of those lost customers with all of its competitors. And interestingly, market competition actually makes this problem so much worse. As you can see, as the number of competing firms increases, that over-automation wedge just grows. A highly fragmented market means each firm feels an even smaller fraction of the demand destruction they cause. I mean, if there's only one monopoly, they feel all the lost demand, and they'll hit the brakes. But with 10 or 100 competitors, nobody hits the brakes. This creates a pretty brutal textbook setup. On one side, you have the private incentive, massive, immediate 100% cost savings for the individual firm. On the other side, the external cost, just a tiny fractional share of the aggregate demand loss. This contrast traps rational firms in a classic prisoner's dilemma. Even if every single CEO acknowledges that collective restraint would raise profits for everyone across the board, automating is still the strictly dominant strategy for their individual firm. Section 3, why common solutions fail. If the problem is this glaring, you'd think we could just regulate it, right? Well, let's debunk some of the buzzy policies you usually hear proposed to fix this. Universal basic income, capital income taxes, worker equity or profit sharing, Cozian bargaining. While some of these might be great for other reasons, like UBI raising the floor on living standards, they all fundamentally fail mathematically to actually stop the over-automation trap. And the reason they fail is that they alter overall profit levels after the fact, but completely ignore the per-task automation margin. The externality happens at the exact moment a specific task is automated. A general tax on corporate profits, for example, just scales the whole pie down. It doesn't change the fact that replacing a worker with a bot saves the firm money on that specific task. To actually stop the race, a solution has to target the per-task incentive directly. Which brings us to Section 4, the Pigouvian tax solution. The source proposes this as a tool surgically designed to correct this exact type of market failure. A Pigouvian automation tax is a per-unit charge set exactly equal to the marginal external cost. What this means in plain English is that we introduce a direct levy on the per-task automation margin. If your firm automates a task, you're taxed an amount that perfectly equals the damage you are doing to your rivals' customer bases. It literally forces companies to fully internalize the true social cost of their automation decisions. Section 5. Calculating the automation tax. Let's look under the hood at the control panel of the economy to see how we actually calculate and pull this off. Okay, here is the core formula for the optimal tax rate denoted as tau star. Now, don't let the math intimidate you. It's actually super simple and incredibly elegant. It relies on just two variables to mathematically calculate exactly what businesses should pay to offset their displacement of workers. Let's break down the first variable, L. This represents the exact amount of consumer spending lost when a single human paycheck vanishes. It calculates the lost wages multiplied by the fraction of income those workers would have spent back into this sector of the economy. Basically, it's the literal dollar amount of aggregate demand that disappears into thin air with every single automated task. The second variable is N, which is just the number of competing firms in the sector. Remember our leaky bucket analogy? N calculates the dilution of that loss. Because a single firm only suffers 1 over n of the damage it causes, the tax has to penalize them for the remaining damage they inflict on everyone else. That's what the 1 minus 1 over n part represents, the exact share of the damage destruction the firm was previously just ignoring. This math creates an absolute necessity for correction. As the demand loss per task grows, meaning displaced workers aren't finding new jobs and are drastically cutting their spending, the optimal Pigouvian tax rate must rise to prevent the economy from cannibalizing its own consumer base. Section 6. Funding the retraining leg. Now that we've calculated the tax on businesses, what do we actually do with the revenue? The crucial point here is that returning the tax revenue back to the automating firms accomplishes absolutely nothing. To actually fix the underlying structural problem, the revenue must go to the harmed parties. It has to be used to directly pay for retraining and other support services for the displaced workers, transforming them into high-value participants in the new AI economy. According to the model, this creates a really brilliant self-limiting loop. Step 1. The Pigouvian tax revenue funds rigorous retraining programs. Step 2. Displaced workers upskill and re-enter the workforce. Step 3. Because they have new, well-paying roles, the income replacement variable, called ADA in the model, rises. And step 4. Because ADA rises, the overall demand loss parameter drops. So as workers earn money again, the mathematically required tax rate naturally shrinks. The sources model indicates that as income replacement approaches 1.0, meaning displaced workers fully recover their previous income levels through upskilling, the market failure completely disappears. When workers are successfully retrained and earning again, the demand externality simply vanishes. So, to summarize the sources model, this isn't designed as a permanent, heavy-handed drag on technological innovation. Not at all. It's framed as a self-limiting tax for a transitional crisis. It calculates the exact penalty needed to stop reckless mass layoffs and uses those funds to build a mathematically precise bridge to get our workforce and our consumer demand safely to the other side of the AI transition. Which leaves us with this final thought. The math is clear, the problem is entirely visible, and the solution can literally be calculated down to the per-task margin. The only question left is, will policymakers actually use the Pigouvian automation tax to successfully bridge this transition and retrain our workforce? Or will we simply let rational markets blindly automate their way to zero consumer demand? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.